ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Namaste my dear friends. This is 16th video on Talks with Maharshi Ramana. I start this video with talk number 267. While speaking of the animal companions in the hall, Sri Bhagwan quoted a Tamil stanza by Avai. When the old lady was going along, she heard on one occasion someone praising Kambar. She replied with a stanza which means, each is great in its own way. What is Kambar's greatness when compared with a bird which builds its nest so fine, the worms which give lack, the honeybee which builds the comb, the ants which build cities, and the spider its web. Bhagwan then began to describe their activities. While living on the hill, he had seen a hut built of stones and mud and roofed with thatch. There was constant trouble with white ants. The roof was pulled down and the walls demolished to get rid of the mud which harbored the ants. Sri Bhagwan saw that the hollows protected by stones were made into towns. These were skirted by walls plastered black, and there were roads to neighboring cities which were also similarly skirted with black plastered walls. The roads were indicated by these walls. The interior of the town contained holes in which ants used to live. The whole wall was thus tenanted by white ants which ravaged the roofing materials above. Sri Bhagwan had also watched a spider making its web and described it. It is seen in one place, then in another place, again in a third place. The fiber is fixed at all these points. The spider moves along it, descends, ascends, and goes round, and the web is finished. It is geometrical. The net is spread out in the morning and rolled up in the evening. Similarly, the wasps build their nest of a lac, crude, and so on. So then, each animal has got some remarkable instinct. Kambar's learning is not to be wondered at because it is God's will as it is in the other cases. Talk number 268. Dr. Sayyid, what is salvation? What did Christ mean by it? This question was put by Dr. Sayyid. Maharshi replied, salvation for whom and from what? Devotee, salvation for the individual and from the sorrows and sufferings of the world. Maharshi, whose are the sorrows, etc. Devotee, of the mind. Maharshi, are you the mind? Devotee, I shall now explain how this question arose. I was meditating. I began to reflect on the grace shown by Christ to some devotees who got salvation. I consider that Bhagwan is similar. Is not salvation the result of similar grace? That is what I mean by my question. Maharshi, yes, right. Devotee, the booklet, Who Am I, speaks of Savrupa Drishti, seeing the essence. Then there must be a seer and the seen. How can this be reconciled with the ultimate unity? Mercy, why do you ask for salvation, release from sorrow, etc.? He who asks for them sees them also. The fact is this: drishti, sight is consciousness. It forms the subject and object. Can there be drishti apart from the self? The self is all drishti, etc. Devotee, how to discern the ego from the perfect I. Mercy, that which rises and falls is the transient I. That which has neither origin nor end is the permanent I consciousness. Devotee, will continuous thought on the self make the mind more and more refined so that it will not think of anything but the highest. Mercy. There is the peaceful mind which is the supreme. When the same becomes restless, it is afflicted by thoughts. Mind is only the dynamic power, Shakti of the self. Devotee, are the seeds material and different from the self? Maharshi, there is no difference between matter and spirit. Modern science admits that all matter is energy. Energy is power or force, Shakti. Therefore, all are resolved in Shiva and Shakti, that is the self and the mind. The kosas are mere appearances. There is no reality in them as such. Devotee, how many hours a day should one devote to meditation? Mercy, your very nature is meditation. Devotee, it will be so when ripe, but not now. Maharshi, you become conscious of it later. That does not mean that your nature is now different from meditation. Devotee, what about practice? Maharshi, meditation must always be practiced. Devotee, a Persian mystic says, there is nothing but God. The Quran says, God is immanent in all. Maharshi, there is no all apart from God. For Him to pervade, He alone is. Devotee, is it morally right for a man to renounce his household duties when he once realizes that his highest duty is Atma Chintan, continuous thought on the self? Maharshi, this desire to renounce things is the obstacle. The self is simple renunciation. The self has renounced all. Devotee, it is true from Bhagwan's standpoint, but for us, my work demands the best part of my time and energy. Often I am too tired to devote myself to Atam Chintan. Maharshi, the feeling I work is the hindrance. Enquire who works. Remember, who am I? The work will not bind you. It will go on automatically. Make no effort either to work or to renounce work. Your effort is the bondage. What is bound to happen will happen. If you are destined to cease working, work cannot be had even if you hunt for it. If you are destined to work, you cannot leave it. You will be forced to engage in it. So leave it to the higher power. You cannot renounce or hold as you choose. Talk 269. Devotee, how is all immanent God said to reside in Daharaksasa, ether of the heart? Daharaksa. Maharshi, do we not reside in one place? Do you not say that you are in your body? Similarly, God is said to reside in Harit Pundrika, the lotus, heart lotus. The heart lotus is not a place. Some name is mentioned as the place of God because we think we are in the body. This kind of instruction is meant for those who can appreciate only relative knowledge. Being immanent everywhere, there is no particular place for God. Because we think we are in the body, we also believe that we are born. However, we do not think of the body of God or of method of realization in our deep slumber. Yet, in our waking state, we hold on to the body and think we are in it. The Supreme Being is that from which the body is born, in which it lives and into which it resolves. We, however, think that we reside within the body. Hence, such instruction is given. The instruction means look within. Talk number 270. Mr. G.V. Subbaramaya, a lecturer in English in Nellore, asked, Brahma is the one by whom all this is pervaded, yana sarvam idam thatam. But then how does Sri Krishna specify the Vibhutis in chapter 10 of Bhagavad Gita? Maharshi. The specifications are in reply to a definite question by Arjuna, who required to know the Lord's Vibhutis for convenience of worship, upasana, sokaryam. The fact is that God is all, there is nothing apart from Him, devotee. The individual is said to give up decayed bodies, Jirni Sarirani, and to take up new ones, Navani. Would this statement apply to infant death also, Maharshi? You do not know in the first place what is Jirnani and what is Navani. Secondly, Jirna and Nava are relative terms. What is old to a king may be new to a beggar. The truth is that the individuality signifies the state of embodiment till the time of liberation. Talk number 271, Dr. Sayyad. How is grace to be obtained? Maharshi. Similar to obtaining the self. Devotee. Practically, how is it to be for us? Mercy. By self-surrender. Devotee, grace was said to be the self. Should I then surrender to my own self? Maharshi, yes, to the one from whom grace is sought. God, Guru and self are only different forms of the same. Devotee, please explain so that I may understand. Maharshi, so long as you think you are the individual, you believe in God. On worshipping God, God appears to you as Guru. On serving Guru, He manifests as the Self. This is the rational. Talk number 272. Devotee, there are widespread disasters spreading havoc in the world, for example, famine and pestilence. What is the cause of this state of affairs? Maharshi, to whom does all this appear? Devotee, that won't do. I see misery around. Maharshi, you were not aware of the world and its sufferings in your sleep. You are conscious of them in your wakeful state. Continue in that state in which you were not afflicted by these. That is to say, when you are not aware of the world, its springs do not affect you. When you remain as the self, as in sleep, the world and its sufferings will not affect you. Therefore, look within, see the self. There will be an end of the world and its miseries. Devotee, but that is selfishness. Maharshi, the world is not external because you identify yourself wrongly with the body and you see the world outside and its pain becomes apparent to you, but they are not real. Seek the reality and get rid of this unreal feeling. Devotee, there are great men, public workers who cannot solve the problem of the misery of the world. Maharshi, they are ego-centered and therefore their inability, if they remained in the self, they would be different. Devotee, why do not Mahatmas help? Maharshi, how do you know that they do not help? Public speeches, physical activity, and material help are all outweighed by the silence of Mahatmas. They accomplish more than others. Devotee, what is to be done by us for ameliorating the condition of the world? Maharshi, if you remain free from pain, there will be no pain anywhere. The trouble now is due to your seeing the world externally and also thinking that there is pain there. But both the world and the pain are within you. If you look within, there will be no pain. Devotee, God is perfect. Why did He create the world imperfect? The work shares the nature of the author, but there it is not so. Maharshi, who is that? Raises the question. Devotee, I, the individual. Maharshi, are you apart from God that you ask this question? So long as you consider yourself the body, you see the world as external. The imperfections appear to you. God is perfection. His work also is perfection. But you see it is as imperfection. But you see it as imperfection because of your wrong identification. Devotee, why did the self manifest as this miserable world? Maharshi, in order that you might seek it, your eyes cannot see themselves. Place a mirror before them and they see themselves. Similarly, with the creation, see yourself first and then see the whole world as the self. Devotee, so it amounts to this, that I should always look within. Maharshi, yes. Devotee, should I not see the world at all? Maharshi, you are not instructed to shut your eyes from the world. You are only to see yourself first and then see the whole world as the self. If you consider yourself as the body, the world appears to be external. If you are the self, the world appears as Brahma. Talk number 273. Dr. Sayyid asked, I have been reading the 5 hymns. I find that the hymns are addressed to Arunachala by you. You are an Advaitin. How do you then address God as a separate being? Mercy, the devotee, God and the hymns are all the self. Devotee, but you are addressing God, you are specifying this Arunachala hill as God. Mercy, you can identify the self with the body. Should not the devotee identify the self with Arunachala? Devotee, if Arunachala be the self, why should it be specially picked out among so many other hills? God is everywhere. Why do you specify Him as Arunachala? Maharshi, what has attracted you from Allahabad to this place? What has attracted all these people around? Devotee Sri Bhagwan, Maharshi, how was I attracted here? By Arunachala. The power cannot be denied. Again, Arunachala is within and not without. The self is Arunachala. Devotee, several terms are used in the holy books. Atma, Paramatman, para, etc. What is the gradation? What is the gradation in them? Maharshi, they mean the same to the user of the words, but they are understood differently by persons according to their development. Devotee, but why do they use so many words to mean the same thing? Maharshi, it is according to circumstances, they all mean the self. Para means not relative or beyond the relative, that is to say, the absolute. Devotee, should I meditate on the right chest in order to meditate on the heart? Maharshi, the heart is not physical. Meditation should not be on the right or the left. Meditation should be on the self. Everyone knows I am. Who is the I? It will be neither within nor without, neither on the right nor on the left. I am, that's all. The heart is the center from which everything springs. Because you see the world, the body, and so on, it is said that there is a center for these, which is called the heart. When you are in the heart is known to be neither the center nor the circumference. There is nothing else whose center could it be. Devotee, may I take it that the self and the non-self are like substance and its shadow? Maharshi, substance and shadow are for the one who sees only the shadow and mistakes it for the substance and sees its shadow also. But there is neither substance nor shadow for the one who is aware only of the reality. Devotee, Buddha, when asked if there is the ego, was silent. When asked if there is no ego, he was silent. Asked if there is God, he was silent. Asked if there is no God, he was silent. Silence was his answer for all these. Mahayana and Hinayana schools have both misinterpreted his silence because they say that he was an atheist. If he was an atheist, why should he have spoken of nirvana, of birth and death, of karma, reincarnations and dharma? His interpreters are wrong, is it not so? Maharshi, you are right. 27th October 1936, talk number 274. The Muslim professor asked how Vaishnavism can be reconciled to Advaitism. Maharshi, the Vaishnavites call themselves Visishta Advaitins. This is also Advaita. Just as the individual body comprises the soul, the ego and the gross body, so also God comprises Paramatma, the world and the individuals. Devotee, does not bhakti imply duality? Maharshi, reflection on one's own self is called bhakti. Bhakti and self-inquiry are one and the same. The self of the Advaitins is the God of the Bhaktas. Devotee, is there a spiritual hierarchy of all the original propounders of religions watching the spiritual welfare of the humans? Maharshi, let them be or let them not be. It is only a surmise at the best. Atma is pratyaksha, self-evident, know it and be done with speculation. One may admit such a hierarchy, another may not, but no one can gainsay the Atma. Devotee, what does Sri Bhagavan think of pravrti and nivarti margas? Maharshi, yes, both are mentioned. What of that? Devotee, which is the better of the two? Maharshi, if you see the self pure and simple, it is nivarti. If you see the self with the world, it is pravrti. In other words, inward tuned mind, antarmukh manas is nivarti. Outward going mind, bahirmukh manas is pravirti. Anyway, there is nothing apart from the self, both are the same. Similarly, also with the spiritual hierarchy, they cannot exist apart from the self, they are only in the self and remain as the self. Realization of the self is the one goal of all. 5th November 1936, talk number 275. In the course of conversation, someone referred to the fact that when Mr. Brunton and a lady were walking home in the night, they saw a bright glow on half of the hill, moving slowly and gently from north to south. Sri Bhagavan replied, "This hill is said to be wisdom in visible shape." Devotee, how is it visible to the physical eye? Maharshi, Sambandar had sung, "The one who fascinated my heart, or the captivator of my heart. I sing of him in my mind. The heart is captivated. Consequently, the mind must have sunk into the heart, and yet there is the remembrance which enables the saint to sing of God later." Then the experience of a young disciple was mentioned. The young man, educated and in good circumstances, in good health and sober mind, was once facing Sri Bhagavan's picture in his home and meditating on the figure. The figure suddenly appeared, animated with life, which threw the young man into a spasm of fear. He called out for his mother. His mother came and asked him what the matter was. He was surrounded by his relatives who were perplexed by his appearance. He was aware of their presence, but was still overpowered by a mysterious force which he tried to resist. He became unconscious for a short time. Fear seized him as he regained consciousness. The people became anxious and tried to bring him round with medicines. When later he came to Tiruvannamalai, he had some foreboding of similar experience. The proximity of Sri Bhagavan prevented any untoward happening, but whenever he wandered away from the hall, he found the force almost irresistible and himself in the grip of fear. Sri Bhagavan said, "Is it so? No one told me this before." A devotee asked if it was not Shaktipata, descent of divine power. Maharshi, yes, it is. A madman clings to sanskaras, whereas a jnani does not. That is the only difference between the two. Jnana is madness of a kind. Devotee, but Shaktipata is said to occur in karma samaya, that is when merit and demerit are equal. Maharshi, yes, mala pripaka Karma, Samaya and Saktipata mean the same. A man is running the course of his sanskaras. When taught he is the self, the teaching affects his mind and imagination runs riot. He feels helpless before the on-rushing power. His experiences are only according to his imagination of the state. I am the self. Whatever he may conceive it to be, Saktipata alone confers the true and right experience. When the man is ripe for receiving the instruction and his mind is about to sink into the heart, the instruction imparted works in a flash and he realizes the self all right. Otherwise, there is always the struggle. Manunasa, Jnana, and the Chitta Ekagrata, annihilation of the mind, knowledge, and one-pointedness means the same. Talk number 276. The UP lady arrived with her brother, a woman companion, and a burly bodyguard. When she came into the hall, she saluted Maharshi with great respect and feeling and sat down on a wool blanket in front of Sri Bhagwan. Sri Bhagwan was then reading Trilanga in Telugu on the reincarnation of a boy. The boy is now 13 years old and reading in the government high school in a village near Lucknow. When he was 3 years, he used to dig here and there. When asked, he would say that he was trying to recover something which he had hidden in the earth. When he was 4 years old, a marriage function was celebrated in his home. When leaving, the guest humorously remarked that they would return for this boy's marriage, but he turned around and said, "I am already married. I have 2 wives." When asked to point them out, he requested to be taken to a certain village, and there he pointed to 2 women as his wives. It is now learned that a period of 10 months elapsed between the death of their husband and the birth of this boy. When this was mentioned to the lady, she asked if it was possible to know the after-death state of an individual. Sri Bhagwan said some are born immediately after, others are after some lapse of time. A few are not reborn on this earth but eventually get salvation in some higher region, and a very few get absolved here and now. See, devotee, I do not mean that is it possible to know the condition of an individual after his death. Mercy, it is possible, but why try to know it? All facts are only as true as the seeker. Devotee, the birth of a person, his being and death are real to us. Mercy, because you have wrongly identified your own self with the body. You think of the other one in terms of the body. Neither you are nor the other is the body. Devotee, but from my own level of understanding, I considered myself and my son to be real. Mercy, the birth of the I thought is one's own birth. Its death is the person's death. After the I thought has arisen, the wrong identity with the body arises. Thinking yourself the body, you give false values to others and identify them with the bodies, just as your body has been born, grows and will perish, so also you think the other was born, grew up and died. Did you think of your son before his birth? The thought came after his birth and persist even after his death. Inasmuch as you are thinking of him, he is your son. Where has he gone? He has gone to the source from which he sprang. He is one with you. So long as you are, he is here, there too. If you cease to identify yourself with the body, but see the real self, this confusion will vanish. You are eternal. The others also will similarly be found to be eternal. Until this truth is realized, there will always be this grief due to false values arising from wrong knowledge and wrong identity. Devotee, let me have true knowledge by Sri Bhagwan's grace, Maharshi. Get rid of the I thought. So long as I is alive, there is grief. When I ceases to exist, there is no grief. Consider the state of sleep. Devotee, yes, but when I take to the I thought, other thoughts arise and disturb me. Mercy, see whose thoughts they are. They will vanish. They have their root in the single I thought. Hold to it and they will disappear. Again the master pointed to the story of Punya and Papa in Yoga Vasishtha. Chapter 20, where Punya consoles Papa on the death of their parents and turns him to realizing the self. Further, creation is to be considered in its two aspects, Ishvara Srishti, God's creation, and Jiva Srishti, individual creation. Of these two, the universe is the former and its relation to the individual is the latter. It is the latter which gives rise to pain and pleasure, irrespective of the former. A story was mentioned from Panchadasi. There were two young men in a village in South India. They were on a pilgrimage to North India. One of them died. The survivor, who was earning something, decided to return only after some months. In the meantime, he came across a wandering pilgrim whom he asked to convey the information regarding himself and his dead companion to the village in South India. The wandering pilgrimage did so, but by mistake changed the names. The result was that the dead man's parents rejoiced in his safety, and the living one's parents were in grief. Thus you see, pain or pleasure has no reference to facts but to mental conceptions. Jiva Srishti is responsible for it. Kill the jiva and there is no pain or pleasure, but the mental bliss persists forever. Killing the jiva is to abide in the self. Devotee, I hear all this. It is beyond my grasp. I pray Sri Bhagwan to help me to understand it all. I had been to a waterfall in Mysore. The cascade was a fascinating sight. The waters streamed out in the shape of fingers trying to grasp the rocks but were rushed on by the current to the depths below. I imagined this to be the state of the individual clinging to their present surroundings, but I cannot help clinging. I cannot imagine that we are no better than seasonal flowers, fruits and leaves on trees. I love flowers, but still this idea has no hold on me. After a few minutes, she pointed out that she had intended to ask Maharshi about death and matters related to it, but did not, however, do it. Yet Maharshi was reading the related matter in the newspaper, and the same topic came up for enlightenment. She left after seeing the cow Lakshmi. 9th November 1936, talk number 277. Mr. Cohen, what is will? I mean, where does it fit in the five kosas? Maharshi, the I thought arises first, and then all other thoughts. They comprise the mind. The mind is the object, and the I is the subject. Can there be will without the I? It is comprised in the I. The I thought is the Vijnanamaya kosa, intellectual seat, will it included in it? Sri Bhagwan said further, Annamaya kosa is the gross body seat, the senses with the prana and the karmendriya form the pranamaya kosa, sense seat. The senses with the mind form the manomaya kosa, mind seat. They are the jnanendriyas. The mind is formed of the thoughts only. Idam, this is the object, and aham, I is the subject. The two together form the Vijnanamaya kosa, intellect seat. 10th November 1936, talk number 278. Mr. W. Uma Devi, a police lady converted to Hinduism, had travelled in Kashmir and brought views from Kashmir at which we were looking. Sri Bhagwan humorously remarked, we have seen those places without the trouble of travel. Devotee, I wish to go to Kailash. Maharshi, one can see these places only if destined, not otherwise. After seeing all, there will still remain more, if not in this hemisphere, maybe in the other. Knowledge implies ignorance of what lies beyond what is known. Knowledge is always limited. After some time, Sri Bhagwan continued, Appar was decrepit and old, and yet began to travel to Kailash. Another old man appeared on the way and tried to dissuade him from the attempt, saying that it was so difficult to reach there. Appar was, however, obdurate and said that he would risk his life in the attempt. The stranger asked him to dip himself in a tank close by. Appar did so and found Kailash then and there. Where did all this happen? In Tiruvayar, 9 miles from Tanjore. Where is Kailash then? Is it within the mind or outside it? If Tiruvayar be truly Kailash, it must appear to others as well. But Appar alone found it so. Similarly, it is said of other places of pilgrimage in the south that they are the abodes of Shiva, and the devotees found them so. This was true from their standpoint. Everything is within, there is nothing without. Talk 279. Devotee, how long does it take a man to be reborn after death? Is it immediately after death or sometime after? Maharshi, you do not know what you were before birth, yet you want to know what you will be after death. Do you know what you are now? Birth and rebirth pertain to the body. You are identifying the self with the body. It is a wrong identification. You believe that the body has been born and will die, and confound the phenomena relating to the one with the other. Know your real being, and these questions will not arise. Birth and rebirth are mentioned only to make you investigate the question and find out that there are neither births nor rebirths. They relate to the body and not to the self. Know the self and be not perturbed by doubts. Talk number 280. Devotee, can you help me to get rid of Maya? Maharshi, what is Maya? Devotee, attachment to the world. Maharshi, was the world in your deep sleep? Was there attachment to it? Devotee, there was not. Maharshi, were you there or not? Devotee, maybe. Then do you deny having existed in sleep? Devotee, I do not. You are therefore now the same one as there was in sleep. Devotee, yes. Sleep, no world. Wakefulness, world is there. In sleep, no attachment. Wakefulness, attachment is there. Sleep, the self is there. Wakefulness, the self is there. Maharshi, what is then that raises the question of Maya just now? Devotee, the mind was not in sleep. The world and the attachment to it are of the mind. Maharshi, that is it. The world and the attachment to it are of the mind, not of the self. Devotee, I was ignorant in sleep. Maharshi, who says that he was ignorant? Is he not ignorant now? Is he a jnani? Ignorance is now mentioned by the contaminated self here. Devotee, was the self pure then in sleep? Maharshi, it did not raise any doubts. It did not feel imperfect or impure. Devotee, such self is common to all, even in a dead body, Maharshi. But the man in sleep or in dead body does not raise questions. Considered who raises questions. It is you. Who were you not in sleep? Why was there no imperfection? The pure self is simple being. It does not associate itself with objects and become conscious as in the wakeful state. What you know now call consciousness in the present state is associated consciousness requiring brain, mind, body, etc. to depend upon. But in sleep, consciousness persisted without these. Devotee, but I do not know the consciousness in sleep. Maharshi, who is not aware of it? You admit I am, you admit I was in sleep. The state of being is yourself. Devotee, do you mean to say that sleep is self-realization? Maharshi, it is the self. Why do you talk of realization? Is there a moment when the self is not realized? If there be such a moment, the other moment might be said to be one of realization. There is no moment when the self is not, nor when the self is not realized. Why pick out sleep for it? Even now you are self-realized. Devotee, but I do not understand, Maharshi, because you are identifying the self with the body. Give up the wrong identity and the self is revealed. Devotee, but this does not answer my question to help me to get rid of Maya, that is attachment, Maharshi. This attachment is not found in sleep. It is perceived and felt now. It is not your real nature. On whom is this accretion? If the real nature is known, these exist not. If you realize the self, the possessions are not perceived. That is getting rid of Maya. Maya is not objective, that could be got rid of in any other way. Talk number 15th November 1936. Sparks from the anvil. Sparks from the anvil. Talk number 281. A certain man who claims to have been Sri Maharshi's condemned disciple has filed a suit in the court praying for a declaration that he is the legitimate Sarvadhikari of the ashramam. Sri Maharshi was examined on commission. There was a crowd, but the proceedings went on smoothly in the room on the northeast. The following are a few tidbits therefrom. Sri Bhagwan's answers were quite spontaneous and smooth. Question: to which ashramam does Sri Bhagwan belong? Maharshi: Atyashramam, beyond the 4 stages. Question: what is it? Maharshi: it is beyond the 4 commonly known ashramas. Question: is it shastraic? Maharshi: yes, it is mentioned in the Shastras. Question: are there others of the same type besides yourself? Maharshi: there may be. Question: have there been any? Maharshi: Sukha, Rishabha, Jadbharta and others. Question: you left home at an early age because you had no attachment for home and property. But here there is property in the ashramam. How is it? Maharshi: I do not seek it. Property is thrust on me. I neither love nor hate it. Question: are they given to you? Maharshi: they are given to the Swami, whoever he may be. But the body is considered the Swami in the world. That body is this. It reduces itself to myself. Question: in that case the attachment to property is now renewed. Is it so? Maharshi: I do not hate it. That's all I said. Question: in practical life it amounts to what I say. Maharshi: just as we live and move in practical matters. Question: do you give Upadesh? Have you ever done it? Maharshi: visitors ask questions, I answer them as well as I know. It is for them to treat my words as they please. Question: is it Upadesh? Maharshi: how shall I say how others take it? Question: have you disciples? Maharshi: I do not give Upadesh in the ceremonial manner. For instance, keeping a kumbha, making puja to it and whispering to the person. The person may call himself my disciple or devotee. I do not consider anyone to be my disciple. I have never sought Upadesh from anyone, nor do I give ceremonial Upadesh. If the people call themselves my disciples, I do not approve or disapprove. In my view, all are alike. They consider themselves fit for being called disciples. What can I say to them? I do not call myself a disciple or a guru. Question: how did you approve the building of Sakandashramam on the hill, which was a temple land, without previously obtaining permission from the authorities? Maharshi: guided by the same power which made me come here and reside on the hill. Question. When you threw away your cash, etc., within an hour after your arrival in this place, you did so because you did not desire possessions. You never touched money. There were no possessions for several years after your arrival here. How is it that donations are now accepted by the ashramam? Mercy. This practice grew up at a later stage because a few associations began to use my name to collect funds. I did not approve of their action nor check them. So it is going on. One man leaves, another steps in, but the process goes on. I do not desire that contributions should be accepted, but people do not heed that advice. I do not desire to give ineffective advice. I do not therefore check them. Since money comes in, property grows spontaneously. Question. Why do you not sign your name? Mercy. The author of the self-realization has furnished his answer for this question. Moreover, by what name am I to be known? I myself do not know. People have given me several names from time to time since my arrival here. If I should sign by one name, all would not understand it. So I used to say to the people seeking autographs that even if they should show my signature, people in general would not believe it to be true. Question. You do not touch money nor other offerings, I trust. Mercy. People sometimes place fruits in my hands. I touch them. Question. If you receive one kind of offering, why should you not receive money also? Maharshi, I cannot eat money. What shall I do with it? Why should I take that which I do not know what to do? Question. Why do visitors stop at the ashramam? Maharshi, they must know why. You have no objection to anyone coming and staying here, I suppose. Maharshi, no. Question. You have similarly no objection to any length of their stay. Maharshi, no. If I do not find it agreeable, I will go away, that's all. A liar devotee asked Sri Bhagwan if the previous day's examination by commission caused much strain. Mercy, I did not use my mind, so there was no strain. Let them examine me for 1,000 days, I don't mind. 16th November 1936, talk number 282. Devotee, does the tantric sadhana bring about self-realization? Maharshi, yes. Devotee, which worship in tantra is the best? Maharshi, it depends on temperament. Devotee, what part does Kundalini play in bringing about self-realization? Maharshi, Kundalini rises from any lakshya that you have. Kundalini is prana shakti, life current. Devotee, different deities are said to reside in different chakras. Does one see them in course of sadhana? Mercy, they can be seen if desired. Devotee, does the path to self-realization go through samadhi? Mercy, they are synonymous. Devotee, it is said that the Guru can make his disciple realize the self by transmitting some of his own power to him. Is it true? Maharshi, yes, the Guru does not bring about self-realization. He simply removes the obstacles to it. The self is always realized. Devotee, is there absolute necessity of a Guru self-realization, mercy. So long as you seek self-realization, the Guru is necessary. Guru is the self. Take Guru to be the real self and yourself as the individual self. The disappearance of this sense of duality is removal of ignorance. So long as the duality persists in you, the Guru is necessary. Because you identify yourself with the body, you think the Guru to be somebody. You are not the body, nor is the Guru. You are the self, and so is the Guru. This knowledge is gained by what you call self-realization. Devotee, how can one know whether a particular individual is competent to be a Guru? Maharshi. By the peace of mind found in the presence and by the sense of respect you feel for him. Devotee, if the Guru happens to turn out incompetent, what will be the fate of the disciple who has implicit faith in him? Mercy, each one according to his merits. Devotee, what are your opinions about social reform? Mercy, self-reform automatically brings about social reform. Confine yourself to self-reform. Social reform will take care of itself. Devotee, what is your opinion about Gandhiji's Harijan movement? Maharshi asked him, Devotee, is it necessary to take bath if we touch dead bodies? Maharshi, the body is a corpse. So long as one is in contact with it, one must bathe in the waters of the self. Devotee, if the Advaita is final, why did Madhvacharya teach Dvaita? Mercy, is yourself Dvaita or Advaita? All systems agree on self-surrender. Attain it first, then there will be time to judge whose view is right or otherwise. Devotee, why do you not preach to the people to set them on the right path? Maharshi, you have already decided by yourself that I do not preach. Do you know who I am and what preaching is? Devotee, is the saving of widows among Brahmins not cruel? Mercy, this may be asked of Dharma Shastris or reformers. Reform yourself first and let us then see about the rest. 17th November 1936, talk number 283. Devotee, how can one become Jita Sangadoshaha, free from the stain of association? Mercy, by satsanga, association with the wise. Satsangvate nisangvatam nisangatve nirmohatvam nirmohatve nischaltvam nischaltatve jivan mukhitah. Satsang means Sangha, association with the Sat. Sat is only the self. Since the self is not now understood to be Sat, the company of the sage who has thus understood it is sought. That is Sat Sangha. Introversion results, then Sat is revealed. For whom is association? For whom is dosha? Devoted to the self. Mercy, no, the self is pure and unaffected. The impurities affect only the ego. Devotee, can the soul remain without the body? Maharshi, it will be so a short time, hence in deep slumber the self is bodiless, even now it is so. Devotee, can a sannyasi remain in the midst of samsara? Mercy, so long as one thinks that he is a sannyasi, he is not one. So long as one does not think of samsara, he is not a samsari. On the other hand, he is a sannyasi. So dear friends, I stop this video at this point. Thank you for watching this video with patience and devotion. Please like, share and comment the video and subscribe the channel. Namaskar, my dear friends. Namaskar. Namaskar.